It might be a day late, but the 2018 CCBL playoffs are upon us as the Wareham Gatemen, the top-seeded Wareham Gatemen, get set to take on the number 4 seed, the Cotuit Kettleers, here at Spillane today. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Gatemen pregame show alongside Henrique, DaMour, and Cameron Stuart. I'm JD Raucci. Gatemen, the Western Division champions in the regular season. First time since 2001 that has happened. It's been an absolutely fantastic season for the Gatemen, and one of the big reasons is because of their success against the Cotuit Kettleers this season. 3-1-2. Just the one loss to Cotuit this year, and really it all started hot on the offensive end and in general in the first couple of games. 2-0-1 against them to start the year.
Yeah, it's really been a tale of two seasons against these Cotuit Kettleers. Beat them a couple times early in the season. One of the first games here at Spillane, they were victorious over Cotuit. And the big one I highlight is back on July 3rd, because at that point it was a really big win for the Gatemen. They were going into their July 4th off day. They were kind of scuffling before that game, and Cotuit was a team that was starting to catch fire before catching fire again this last week or two. But the Gatemen went into that game. It was the first time at Cotuit that year. It was a hot day. It was early evening, which they hadn't really played many of those early on in the season, and they came out firing. Took a 5-0 lead in that game and ended up winning it 8-1. The big 3-run homer by Gian Martellini, really the only power stroke we had seen from him up before this last week or two, came in that game at his old home, and it was a really nice victory for the Gatemen going into that off day, and at that point was one of their most impressive wins of the year. So they did have some success against Cotuit definitely early on in the season.
First 3 games of the season, 2-0-1. The last 3 games with Cotuit, though, a little bit of a different narrative. 1-1-1, Henrique, including the last time the Cotuit Kettleers were here at Spillane Field, a comeback win where the Gatemen blew a 2-run lead in the 8th.
Yeah, Garrett Wolforth hit a 2-run shot in the 8th inning off Ryan Stoudemire to seal that, and then Steven Schock, the all-star closer, came in and shut the Gatemen down here at home, which we haven't seen a ton. Usually when the Kettleers come to Spillane Field, it's a one-sided affair in favor of the Gatemen. But even the 2 ties at Lowell Park came down to a 1-run lead in the 9th inning, I should say, that the Gatemen ended up blowing. Now, in the most recent one, the Gatemen were also down 3-0 in the 9th, and Gian Martellini, Kettleer killer extraordinaire, he came up in a big way with a bases-loaded 2-run single to tie that game. Isaac Collins eventually providing the go-ahead run. But it has been a little bit different. The Cotuit bullpen has always been solid, much more so now. Steven Schock has been darn near untouchable the entire year. One of the best, if not the best closer in the Western Division, probably in the CCBL. But that being said, I think the difference with Cotuit has been the power bats. They've come back. Michael Tolia had gotten into a hot stretch. Peyton Burdick, who started off the season unbelievably hot, cooled down precipitously, but has since, gotten back to his power hitting ways as well. Zach Humphreys has had a couple of clutch hits every now and again. But the key for the Gatemen, because the starting pitching has been the one hole in this Cotuit team. They rely on, a good start, which they've gotten the last 2 times at Lowell Park against the Gatemen, much to the Gatemen's frustration. Then they usually haven't been able to do anything against the bullpen, with the exception of the last time these 2 teams played at Lowell Park, again scoring 3 in the 9th off the Cotuit bullpen. But otherwise, they've been really darn good. And the last 2 games, they've played each other very close.
3-1-2, the Gatemen record over the Cotuit Kettleers this year. The meetings at Lowell Park, 1-0-2, so no losses at Lowell Park, but here at Spillane, the one loss the last time these 2 teams met. And one guy that knows that it's going to be important to get out in front of Cotuit and play this Cotuit team well early, considering they're 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. Probably the hottest team in the CCBL. Well, that guy's head coach, Don Sneddon, he got a chance to talk with our Mary Orders before today's first game of the 2018 playoffs.
Regular season West Division champs for the first time since 2001. Coach, what does it mean, or what does it show for the effort and drive of the team?
Well, it's been a hard grind, 44 games, I believe over 60 players coming out every day and competing. And to win the West, very competitive. As you know, if we took all of our league, I think we would have finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in that league. So very competitive. So it's great to have that. You got to enjoy it for a couple days, and now that's all gone, and we start all over again.
You mentioned we've had quite a few players leave and come and go. Who do you think has stepped up in the absence of some of the key players leaving?
Well, it's been a whole team thing. It isn't one individual. Guys just accept roles. Collins was a temp player, and he just come in and established himself in a brand new position, and so he's done exceptional with that. We'll see with the pitching and everything else. We've really not had anybody lately come in and step up. It'll be these new guys starting today that's going to have to step up. So we'll see what happens with that.
Do you feel like your managing style changes when playoffs start versus the regular season?
No. Not at all, and that's just what our conversation was with the players before this. This is just a game that we prepared for when we played game 1. It doesn't matter if it's game 1 or this game, and the key to winning this is to take that attitude. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to make the game speed up on you. it's when that happens, you make more errors mentally and physically. So we just got to play our game just the way we've been playing it all season long.
Looking back a bit, how do you feel like the season series went against Cotuit?
Well, it was tight. I mean, I know we had a couple ties in there, and they had that late inning 3-run home run off a bad pitch, and so it's been tight all the way through. I expect the same thing.
Ryan Garcia is getting the start today. What are you expecting out of him?
Just what he's done all season. He's a great pitcher, and hopefully he'll continue with what he's done and throw strikes, keep guys off bases, and keep them off balance with 1 to 4 type of pitches that he has. And that's been his key all season, and I wouldn't expect anything different from him tonight.
Any plans for the rest of the bullpen?
Yeah, they're all ready. There is no tomorrow. I mean, there is tomorrow because it's a double elimination with that. But, yeah, everybody's ready, and we're just we're having told them that nobody should be throwing bullpens, so they aren't available. So everybody's available tonight and tomorrow and the next day.
Lastly, overall keys to tonight's game.
Well, I just keeping our mistakes at a minimum and getting the hit when we need that, because I don't think we'll get a lot of opportunities. All their bullpens rested too, so they'll bring in specialists, lefty against lefty and sinker ballers for double play balls and all that stuff. So you better take advantage when you get that shot.
Coach, thanks so much. We'll have more from the Gatemen pregame show after the break.
The Gateway Tavern, located on Marion Road in Wareham, offers an extensive but not exhaustive array of menu choices. They search for the finest in foods, ranging from garden fresh produce to hand-selected seafood, and have special menus that change daily. The Gateway Tavern is proud to be the official helmet of the Wareham Gatemen.
Rolling right along here on the Gatemen pregame show with Henrique, DaMour, and Cameron Stuart. I'm JD Raucci, getting you ready for Game 1 of the 2018 playoffs for the top-seeded Gatemen against the number 4 seed, the Cotuit Kettleers. Now we'll get you ready for the pitching matchup. It's an interesting one, to say the least. Gatemen will throw their ace, Ryan Garcia. We'll get to that in a moment. But for the Cotuit Kettleers, it's Griffin McClarty, a guy with a plus over 5 ERA this season, but he will be the Game 1 starter tonight for Cotuit.
Yeah, McClarty's a guy who's been here pretty much wire to wire for the Kettleers and maybe doesn't have the ace stuff, but he's definitely their hottest pitcher going right now. And he has pitched against the Gatemen before, went just over 4 innings in a loss to them. That 8-1 loss I mentioned earlier, gave up 2 runs, but scattered around 8 hits on just 21 batters faced. So the Gatemen did have some success against him last time. And you mentioned that ERA over 5 is definitely not looking great for a Game 1 starter, but he's been much better as of late, starting to go deeper into games and could give Cotuit a good start tonight.
Griffin McClarty out of College of Charleston going for the Cotuit Kettleers tonight. And as we mentioned earlier, the ace, Ryan Garcia, sub-2 ERA, coming into the game out of UCLA. He is the Gatemen's ace through and through.
Yeah, bar none, he's been the Gatemen's best pitcher this year, because even the best Gatemen pitchers have had a blip somewhere, right? But not for Garcia. He's given up one earned run in each of his first 4 starts. Then in his 2 most recent starts, gave up no earned runs, 1 run period in the 3-1 win over Falmouth. And we saw him work an inning of relief actually against Cotuit just to kind of keep him fresh. We saw Derek West do the same thing, right, against Bourne. But we see, Garcia has been the guy this year, absolutely. And there have been games where he struck out 9 in 4 innings, and there's been games where he struck out 2 in 4 innings. So he has the power stuff, and his breaking ball is truly nasty when he can locate it, but he can pitch to contact as well. He's got 33 strikeouts in 28 innings, just 9 walks. The strikeout to walk ratio is there at about a strikeout an inning. He's been the Gatemen's ace through and through. Got the All-Star nod this year, along with reliever Easton Lucas. Those are the 2 guys out of the Wareham pitching staff that we saw. And Lucas most likely going to be out in relief. We often see that 1-2 punch of Garcia and Lucas go for Wareham. And even Lucas, even though he was an All-Star, he's been a guy who has been tremendous all year except for 1 blip. But he's gotten back on the saddle. He's back to his old ways. Expect a really dominant performance here for the Gatemen pitching staff, even against a Cotuit staff, or a Cotuit offense, I should say, that has been rolling. They've been producing runs at an unbelievable rate.
Game 1, always super important to get out in front of a lead, especially when you only need 2 wins to win a series. Ryan Garcia knows it, and he talked with our Mariotas before today's game.
Thanks, guys. So, Ryan, you'll be the Game 1 starter in the playoffs. How are you feeling about it?
Feeling great. Excited. We worked really hard to get here, and today is going to be pretty important for us. So, yeah, I'm excited.
What did it mean to clinch the West Division?
It means a lot. I know it meant a lot to our coaches and definitely to our players. Like I said, we worked hard to get to where we are now, and it paid off.
You went 1 inning of relief against Cotuit last week. How do you feel like that outing went?
It went well. No runs, so that's really all that matters. That day, we kind of treated that as a bullpen, to prepare for the first start on playoffs. So, yeah.
What are you looking to do today?
I'm looking to win, give my team the best chance possible, to do that and to compete. Yeah.
What approach are you going to take to try to get ahead of batters?
Definitely, just like you said, just get ahead of batters, be really aggressive. And I think one main thing today would probably just give it everything I have and make sure there's no regrets at the end of the day.
How many innings are you looking to go?
Hopefully 5 or 6. That'd be great.
Lastly, how does this compare to some of the biggest moments you've had at UCLA?
I think pretty equal. Definitely, playoff situation. I've had one situation like that this past year in Minnesota, and so I'll treat it the same. Playoffs are playoffs. So yeah.
Ryan, thanks so much and good luck tonight. After the break, we'll have more from the Gatemen baseball pregame show.
Clobbered high and deep to right center field, and this one is gone. A home run.
Eastern Propane and Oil is the Wareham Gatemen home run sponsor. Each time a home run is hit by a Gatemen player, Eastern Propane and Oil donates a camp scholarship to a deserving youth. Eastern Propane and Oil, we're in your neighborhood.
Welcome back to the Gatemen pregame show. Wrapping things up here with Henrique, DaMour, and Cameron Stuart. I'm JD Raucci, getting you ready for the Cotuit Kettleers and the Wareham Gatemen. First pitch coming up at 6:30. But one thing we should mention before we kind of get into the keys to the game that we always have in this third and final segment of the pregame show is Gian Martellini. He'll be batting fifth today. He'll be catching for the Gatemen. And he played all of 2017 actually with today's opponent. The Cotuit Kettleers spent all season with Cotuit last summer, but ever since coming over to the Gatemen in 2018, he has absolutely raked against his former team.
Yeah, he's been one of these guys that has been in and out of the lineup with the Gatemen having 3, sometimes 4 catchers on the roster at a time. But he's been a Kettleer killer in his not only pinch hit appearances, but his spot starts, if you will, against the Kettleers. He's 5 of 10 with 6 RBIs against his former team. Martellini has been absolutely awesome, and he's been clutch. We talked about the big 2 RBI bases loaded single against Cotuit last time these two teams played at Lowell Park in that 9th inning comeback. But he's been absolutely awesome. He's been swinging a better power bat as of late, and I really like him in the 5 spot, coupling Drew Millis with him as well. Oftentimes you see those two guys in the same lineup, one of them catching, one of them DHing. So like you said, Martellini getting the catching start today, Millis in the designated hitter spot. Both of them have been swinging the bat better. Millis more of a contact bat, but Martellini can provide the pop out of the 5-hole. I really like this decision by Don Sneddon.
If Martellini gets off to a good start against Cotuit, as he has done all year, the Gatemen could get off to a good start in this series. And since the playoff format changed in 2010, where 4 teams from each division have made it into the playoffs, game ones and home field advantage especially have been incredibly important, Cam.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Since that has expanded since 2010, 42 of the 56 series, the team who wins game 1 will go on to win the series. And that makes a lot of sense. You know, it is only a 3-gamer here, a best of 3. And to get off on the right foot in game 1 is so huge, especially when you're the Gatemen and you're defending your home turf, where they have been so good all year. This is their bread and butter, playing at Spillane Field. One of those losses misleading because it came at Hartford against YD, but this is a place that has been a cauldron for them all year. The bats just seem to come alive. For whatever reason, when they're here at Spillane. The bullpen's had its mishaps, but the offense has consistently shown up here at their home field. And obviously to have that going into Cotuit tomorrow, kind of a weird game for them, a weird game because it's a Monday at 3 p.m. You got to move up that start time because no lights in Cotuit. It's definitely good to get off with your right foot and have your 2 best pitchers, I think, going on the mound today in Garcia and probably Easton Lucas right behind him to get that win. So crucial. Obviously, it takes a lot of pressure off because even if you lose game 2, you're coming back here once again. Game 1 obviously so big because we were talking about it before. If you lose game 1 and you want to get out of this series, you all of a sudden have to go on at least a 3-game winning streak to get out of the series and out of that position once again for the next one. So it all starts here today.
Going to be super important today, and as we mentioned, there's been a lot of history since that 2010 kind of rehash of the playoff format. 42 of 56, 75% of Game 1 winners have gone on to win. But one other thing to point out is that number 1 seeds aren't all that successful since the 2010 kind of playoff, as we said, rehashing. A 1 seed has never won the CCBL championship since 2010, since the 4 teams from each division have gotten into the playoffs. Gatemen will try to turn that around today. What do they have to do in game number 1, Henrique, to start off with a 1-0 record in these 2018 playoffs?
I mean, we always talk about early offense with the Gatemen, but I think it's going to come down to top-down production. Jeremy Idens and Austin Shenton, the 4-3 bats in this lineup, have been hitting really, really well as of late with power, which I think is so important. important, especially for Jeremy Idens. Couple home runs in his last few games. Shenton has gone deep recently in a 2-homer game against Hyannis, which has been really encouraging. John Martellini is a power bat in the 5-hole. But what I'm looking for is production from, yes, him, but also Drew Millis in the 6 and Lyle Lockhart in the 7. Oliver Dunn will hit well. Isaac Collins produces at the top of the lineup. That middle chunk of the lineup, these guys who have been much hotter as of late, but still have had their 0 for 3, 0 for 4 mishap days, they need to be consistent. They need a couple. They don't even need more than one hit. They just need one clutch hit. And those guys have come up in the clutch as of late. Lockhart's been swinging a power bat. Millis, I've been really, really impressed with. Even Ryan Kreidler today being pushed down to the 9-hole. He's got 2 bombs in his last 5 games. He's been hitting really, really well. So I think you need production from the bottom half of that lineup, but especially 5, 6, 7 today for Wareham.
Middle chunk, bottom of the order have been crucial all season for the Gatemen. A little bit up and down, but they have started to turn it around in the last couple of weeks. Cam, what do you think the Gatemen have to do today?
Well, I'm kind of sticking with that offensive mantra here. We talk about how big it is to get off to a good start in the series, winning at home. I think the same thing should be a microcosm in this game, that the Gatemen need to get out on Griffin McClarty early. This is a guy they've already faced this year, and they kind of missed their opportunities against him. As I mentioned, 8 hits and 21 batters, and they still only scored 2 runs, and 6 of the 8 runs in that game for the Gatemen came off the bullpen. So if they're going to be able to do that today against the starter and start finishing those opportunities that they missed last time, that's going to be so huge, because this bullpen is not as good for the Kettleers, and they're just losing, like many teams in the league, losing pitchers left and right, and that's why they kind of throw out McClarty, who hasn't been their ace all year, for game 1 of the postseason. So if they can get off to a good start against him, that becomes a lot easier for Garcia and Easton Lucas, and then that makes sure anyone behind him you can use. You don't have to use all your high leverage guys. You can save that for a possible clincher tomorrow on the road, which is obviously much more difficult. So the Gatemen, if you can get off to a good start today, don't have to see Steven Schock probably, so that's probably a good thing for the Gatemen too.
Gatemen trying to continue the trend of Game 1 winners in the CCBL, while they also try to buck the trend of number 1 seeds in the CCBL playoffs since 2010. All right, that'll do it for us here on the Gatemen Pregame Show. For Henrique DaMour and for Cameron Stuart, I'm JD Raucci. We hope you join us coming up at 6:30 for first pitch for the first game of the 2018 CCBL playoffs.